A forgotten legend sat silently inside an abandoned wooden barn for decades. Dust covered every inch of its body, rust had taken over the metal, and flat tires had sunk into the cold ground. Most people saw nothing more than old scrap. But hidden beneath years of neglect was a true American icon, a 1967 Ford Mustang. Time had nearly erased its glory, yet its soul was still waiting for someone to bring it back to life. Today, that impossible journey begins. As the dust slowly disappeared, the true condition of the Mustang became clear. Deep rust covered the body panels, the engine hadn't moved in decades, and almost every rubber part had cracked with age. Restoring this classic would require patience, skill, and hundreds of hours of hard work. Many experts would call this project impossible. But every legendary restoration starts with a single decision: to never give up. The long wait was finally over. With great care, the forgotten 1967 Ford Mustang was pulled out of the old barn for the first time in decades. Every movement revealed more rust, more dust, and more signs of a hard life. Its frozen wheels barely turned as it was slowly loaded onto a trailer. To most people, it still looked like junk. But to the restoration team, this wasn't scrap metal, it was the beginning of an incredible comeback. The real journey had officially started. As the trailer rolled into the workshop, every mechanic stopped to look at the legendary Mustang. Years of neglect had left deep scars across its body, but its iconic shape was still unmistakable. Before any restoration could begin, hundreds of photos and detailed measurements were taken. Every dent, every missing part, and every damaged panel would become part of the rebuilding process. Precision would be the key to bringing this classic back to factory condition. Every successful restoration begins by taking everything apart. The bumpers, doors, hood, seats, glass, wiring, and engine components were carefully removed one by one. Every bolt was labeled and stored for future assembly. Slowly, the Mustang transformed from a complete car into hundreds of individual parts. It looked worse than ever, but this was exactly how every world-class restoration begins. Now the biggest enemy revealed itself: rust. Years of moisture had eaten through the floor pans, rocker panels, and sections of the frame. Instead of hiding the damage with filler, every rusted piece of metal was carefully cut away. Fresh steel panels were shaped by hand and welded into place with precision. It was slow, demanding work, but every spark brought the 1967 Ford Mustang one step closer to life. A strong restoration always starts with a strong foundation. With the rust finally gone, the bodywork could begin. Every dent was hammered flat, every panel was aligned, and every surface was carefully sanded until perfectly smooth. Tiny imperfections that most people would never notice were corrected by hand. This stage demanded patience more than speed. The goal wasn't just to make the Mustang look good, it was to make it look exactly as it did when it left the factory in 1967. After weeks of bodywork, the Mustang was finally ready for primer. Multiple coats were sprayed evenly across every panel before hours of wet sanding created a perfectly smooth surface. The transformation was becoming visible. The rough, rusted shell that arrived from the abandoned barn had completely disappeared. Now, the car was only one step away from receiving the beautiful factory finish it deserved. The moment everyone had been waiting for had finally arrived. Layer by layer, rich factory blue paint covered the Mustang's body, followed by multiple coats of crystal-clear protective finish. Under the booth lights, every curve reflected like glass. For the first time in decades, the legendary 1967 Ford Mustang looked alive again. Its beautiful color reminded everyone why this car had become an American icon. While the paint cured, attention turned to the engine. Every internal component was inspected, cleaned, or replaced. The legendary V8 was rebuilt piece by piece using precision measurements and careful assembly. Fresh bearings, pistons, gaskets, and seals ensured that the engine would perform as reliably as it had nearly 60 years ago. Soon, the heart of the Mustang would be ready to beat once again. After weeks of careful rebuilding, the moment had finally arrived. Using an engine hoist, the freshly restored V8 was slowly lowered into the Mustang's spotless engine bay. Every movement had to be perfect. Fresh wiring, fuel lines, cooling hoses, and polished accessories were connected one by one. What had once been an empty shell was now becoming a complete machine again. The heart of the 1967 Ford Mustang was finally back where it belonged. The outside looked stunning, but the cabin deserved the same attention. New sound insulation was installed before fresh carpeting, premium seats, a restored dashboard, and a classic steering wheel transformed the interior. Every switch, gauge, and chrome trim piece was restored to factory condition. Sitting inside the Mustang now felt like stepping back into 1967, when this legendary muscle car first captured the hearts of drivers across America. Now came the final assembly. The chrome bumpers, headlights, grille, mirrors, trim, and glass were carefully installed. Every bolt was tightened to specification, and every panel gap was checked for perfection. Piece by piece, the Mustang became whole again. The project that once seemed impossible was now standing proudly on its own wheels, looking exactly as it had nearly 60 years ago. Everyone gathered around as the key turned for the very first time. After a brief pause, the rebuilt V8 roared to life with a deep, powerful sound. Months of hard work had paid off. After final safety checks, the Mustang rolled out of the workshop and onto the open road. Every gear shift, every turn, and every mile proved that this legend was back where it belonged, driving proudly once again. What began as a forgotten pile of rust has become a masterpiece once again. This 1967 Ford Mustang is more than just a restored car, it is a symbol of patience, craftsmanship, and passion. Every hour of work saved a piece of automotive history for future generations. Thank you for joining this incredible restoration journey. If you enjoyed watching this transformation from rust to road, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for the next legendary restoration adventure.